So here's some food for thought. So everybody is concerned about a nuclear Armageddon between Russia and the United States, or possibly with China and the United States. And, we talk about the situation in Ukraine, the escalation. We're talking about Trump is thinking about sending Tomahawk missiles. I don't think he's going to do that, but he's got people around him, I'm sure, that are pushing for that. And you think of what would happen if the situation continued to escalate between, say, Russia and the United States. And a lot of times people will talk about nuclear weapons. Well, there's a potential that nuclear weapons could be fired off, or you look at India and Pakistan, or you look at, what Israel's doing. Israel's going to war with everybody in the Middle East, and, they want to do a regime change in Iran. What if instead of nuclear weapons, imagine instead they're biological? And see, nuclear weapons, that would destroy the infrastructure in the area that you targeted, within a certain radius. But with biological weapons, first of all, it'd be very effective. I mean, you'd wipe out a large percentage of the population over a wider area. In a sense, they'd actually be even more destructive, at least in the short term, whereas nuclear weapons, you would end civilization. But with biological weapons, you would keep the infrastructure intact. So if you wanted to take a country over, would it make sense to hit them with biological weapons instead? You would keep everything intact, the wildlife intact, the water supply, because if you nuke it, or if you did a chemical attack. Chemical attacks aren't really widespread. They're usually local, unless you're doing chemtrails or something. But biological weapons would actually be more devastating. And I can see a scenario, instead of a nuclear exchange, a biological weapon exchange. Now imagine that. And then the governments would love it. It'd be like COVID 2.0. They could really take control of every aspect of society, whereas nuclear weapons, it would just be chaos, right? They wouldn't control their own populations. If you had, say, drone technology combined with, say, a loyal military, I suppose you could impose martial law. But biological weapons, like I said, you would keep the infrastructure intact. They don't have the same psychology as nuclear weapons. People, they think of nuclear weapons, you think of total destruction, the end of Western civilization, or the end of modern civilization. Whereas with chemical weapon or with biological weapons, that perception is not the case. You'd have the perception that there would still be civilization that would continue. And plus, you can control who you kill. So, if there's a bioweapon release, you can quarantine the most important people, or the people that you think is most important, your scientists, your leaders. But with nuclear weapons, you can't really do that. So this is just food for thought. Just think about this. Think about a possibility, World War III, but an exchange of biological weapons instead of nuclear weapons. Really think about that, because that's a possibility that nobody's really talking about too much.